Um, Hi everyone. I see about 44 people in this meeting. So for those of you who joined a bit later, welcome. My name is EnYi. I'm one of the co-organizers of The Martians together with Uli. And I'm also the founder of a company, a startup called Pera. You can visit us at perapera.ai. It's a language learning startup targeted at working professionals. So we try to teach people who are working to equip themselves with language skills that are needed to develop further in their careers. So apart from being a founder, what I would like to share today is actually something about remote working. My team is 5 people, and we're located right now in Singapore, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. So even though I think we are fortunate in that we all operate in the same time zone, we're actually in different places. We don't have an office, so we all operating, working from home essentially. And what inspired me to set up this session today is that we've been seeing a lot of people where they used to work in the office, and because of the virus situation right now, have started working from home, or are basically forced to not go into the office. Some of them are quarantined, some of them have come into contact with people who have the virus, and so a lot of people are now working from home, and it's actually something that takes some time to adjust to. And so today I would like to share my experience working from home as someone who has come from a background of working in an office. So if you have worked in an office before, then this picture would be very familiar to you. So office cubicles, right? There's meeting spaces where people can get together. They can discuss things. And what I am doing right now, and maybe some of you are as well, is something that looks more like this. So these are actual pictures of my home office. I don't have a very elaborate setup, right? It's just a desk, right? A chair, proper lighting, and my computer, and obviously, some equipment like earphones and things like that. So you'll be working right now, maybe perhaps from home, or maybe from cafes. And the picture on the right is a picture of the Martians at one of our productive days. So we have like productive days where we meet in the cafe. Everyone's working on their own project, but basically we like to be in the same place so that we can bounce off ideas with each other, talk to people who sometimes are from different backgrounds, different industries, and then come up with new ideas. So today I would like to share 2 things to get you started working remotely. So the first is actually tools that you need. So some of you may be very experienced remote workers, so some of this might be quite repetitive, in which case, would definitely welcome you to share if there's any tools that you find better than the ones I'm sharing. Would love to have a discussion about that. This slide is just kind of a summary of the tools that my company, we are using right now. So we have some collaboration tools. There's Dropbox Paper. There is Google Suite for like if you need spreadsheets, if you need like if you need basic like document functions, if you need to create slides, and it's all in the cloud. You can share it very easily with your team. We use Slack probably the most of all, and that's an instant messaging tool. So I think what it allows us is to kind of stay connected, to share ideas with each other in a way that's maybe a bit more immediate than email. So we do use that a lot. Zoom probably requires no introduction. It's the video conferencing tool that we're using right now. So when I have meetings with my team remotely, I like to see their faces. I like to see the expressions. I need to know whether they're confused or about any of the instructions or any of the things that we're discussing. So Zoom is very helpful in that respect. Other tools that you might want to experiment with are project management tools. There's Trello. Again, this is probably something a lot of people use. In terms of workflow or notification integration, we do use tools like Zapier, if this and that. And for other things like, simple things that you don't really think about so much when you're all in the same place, right? Like password management. Maybe this is the time to start experimenting with some tools like that. And obviously for scheduling, you have like just Google Calendar. I think when you're working remotely, it's very important to have keep your calendar clean and up to date so that people know, when you're available. Always keep a lot of communication channels open so that you can be accessible to the rest of your team. We do actually use a lot of tools, and that is something that my co-founder is the technical co-founder. I'm the business co-founder, and he uses a lot of tools to make sure that everything is, we're all productive and working well together. This is just an article that we have on LinkedIn. If any of you are interested, you can check this out. It gives you it's basically like a longer version of my previous slide, which tells you what tools are good for different purposes. So yeah, if you're interested, do check this out. The second thing I would like to talk about before I hand time over to someone else is actually the mindset that you require to not only survive working remotely, but also to thrive working remotely. And that is, I would say, as important as the tools that you have, because it's a time where, if nothing on the previous slide looked familiar to you, then obviously there's a lot of the learning curve is going to be pretty steep. And having a good mindset and knowing what's going to be different about working remotely from working in an office would be very helpful to help you succeed, not just working from home, but from anywhere, essentially. So this is this is a picture of one of the founder of a company called Wolfram. As you can see, very elaborate home office setup. So obviously, he's being very productive, and this is something we want to become, as opposed to this, which from speaking to a lot of people now is one of their biggest concerns, right? How do I, how do I stay focused? How do I avoid distractions? And how do I just not become a person who just wakes up late every day, right? Instead of like working on what I'm supposed to be working on. And I think this is a very real problem because we associate being at home with being very free, being relaxed. And sometimes when you have to work from home and actually be productive, it can be a bit at odds with your expectation of what it's like to be in a certain environment, right? So in terms of the mindset that you should have, some suggestions perhaps that I would offer are firstly, to the extent possible, depends on your organization, obviously, but to discover your own momentum. And you'll realize, especially when you start working from home and having more freedom, that you generally, that there are certain times in the day you gravitate to in terms of being productive. And it's like that for one person, and for another team member, it might be completely different. So I think working remotely is actually a good chance for organizations to move more towards something that's not FaceTime and dependent on like how often you see each other, but more results driven in a way where you share like the results of what you've been working off, and so discover your own momentum. You have to figure this out slowly, like what times of the day you're productive and what times you would rather be taking a break. And also respect that others will have different schedules from your own. So I think it means that certain things will take a longer time to accomplish than if you were all in the office. But in the long run, I think it's actually a type of schedule that is sustainable for every single individual. And if there's trust within the team, within the organization, then it could lead to everyone having more productive and also more kind of satisfying professional lives. The second is to seek out opportunities for doing things together with your colleagues or team members. So the picture you see here is actually just a snapshot from my own schedule. I like to keep my schedule pretty open. This doesn't mean that these are all the meetings I have in a week, but you can see, for example, every Friday, our team actually has a lunch and learn series. So for 1 hour, we are actually all just eating our lunch in front of our computers. And we watch something together, so we're learning together. After we watch it, we're discussing, we're discussing what we found interesting. And not only that, I think in our regular meetings, we try to encourage people to kind of talk a bit about what's going on in their lives as well. Because I think people have to realize that when you're in an office, maybe you see each other a lot more often, and you kind of know what's been going on in other people's lives. But when you're remote, I think it's important to take the time to actually just catch up, right? Just talk about, just have like chit chat, just talk a bit about getting updates on each other before you actually start getting into business. I think that's always very useful. So apart from the meetings you see here, I also like to reach out to people in the team individually. We have like small co-working sessions, right? Where maybe we're silent a lot of the time, but we're actually, doing work together, and we'll be like, yeah, like we'll share like a bit of our thought process behind doing certain things and making certain decisions. And that actually helps us to stay connected as a team. And the last and perhaps most important thing, I think, is to be patient, not just with yourself, but also with other people. I think there is a lot of, it is difficult to adjust to working remotely if you're doing it for the first time. You might be, you might be really motivated on the first day. You'd be like, oh, I'm going to wake up at 8:30, or I'm going to have my breakfast at 9. I'm going to like do this, and then I'll have this. And then, you plan everything. And then maybe you realize that it's not working out very well. And after a while, it's easy to get into a cycle where, like you think something's not working, and then you stop, doing other things. And then it's kind of like a downward spiral. So I think it's important to realize that things are really not going to go according to plan when you first start to do remote work. And then it's important to be patient with yourself. And sometimes it's just a process of understanding yourself better, which times of the day are actually productive, which time do you actually think that is suitable to do different sorts of works, right? Including your meetings or including more independent work. So it's a good time to kind of revisit all these things, learn more about yourself, and just if it's your first time doing remote work, then definitely good luck, and do reach out to myself or any of the people on this call if you need any more advice or help with that. Thank you.
Thanks, EnYi.